Welcome to the Chiropractic and Legal Injury Podcast, recorded live at our events. We're here bringing you the expertise, insights, and tools you need to navigate the world of personal injury care and to uncover what you didn't know about car accidents. It's no accident you're listening today, so let's get started. Hi, I am Ashley, and we are here recording live the Chiropractic and Legal Injury Podcast. We are doing it at the first annual Chiropractic and Legal Injury Conference in beautiful Scottsdale at venue 8600. We are so excited to have Jim here today. We're going to jump right in. Welcome.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
We're so happy you're here.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Tell us a little bit about yourself and your company.
So my name is Jim O'Connell. I own a company called Axiom Networks. We are a full-service business technology partner for small businesses. What that means is we alleviate the burden of managing your day-to-day technology. So whether that's your desktops and your computers, your servers, your cloud environment, and email, security, compliance, we handle everything. So you have a single point of contact and you're not trying to waste your time, as valuable as it is running your business, trying to manage all these different technology vendors.
That's amazing. And I love how you said partner as well, because I just feel like that definitely feels like it, right? You're partnering with someone and helping them do the things that they need to do on the daily basis, right? Rather than worry about all of those other things.
Yeah, and that's one thing we really try to do is make sure that it's more than just a client-provider relationship. We really like to, get in there, really know our clients, learn about the way they work, so that we can make sure that we're providing solutions for them that work with the way they work, because every business is a bit unique. So something that will work over at business A will probably not go too well at business B.
Yeah, every business is probably different and their needs are probably different, which has actually been kind of a topic that we've been talking about with the personal injury. Every personal injury patient is different for what their needs are. And basically you're essentially offering the multidisciplinary, one place approach that other providers here have been talking about for accident patients to be able to go to one-stop shop for all of their things so they can take care of themselves. You provide that for the businesses so that we can provide that for the patients.
Exactly, yeah. You guys are trying to make sure you're taking care of your patients, and that's obviously always priority number one. So what we do is try to make sure that we alleviate the burden and the worry of staying up at night, making sure, my computer is going to work when I come in tomorrow, or what happens if my email gets breached? We want to make sure that, business owners and these doctors and chiropractors have enough to worry about. Sure. They don't need to worry about their technology.
Yeah, absolutely. And privacy is a big thing for chiropractors, for doctors, for offices. Is that something that you find you're really able to help alleviate that stress as well as the compliance part?
Yes. So one of the key things we focus on is definitely HIPAA compliance. So HIPAA compliance provides a pretty broad scope checklist for what would be best practice as far as security goes, whether that's protecting patient confidential information, files, emails, imaging, anything like that. There is thousands of pages going into HIPAA compliance. So what we do is, from the technology side of things, we're able to pretty much place in HIPAA compliance straight out of the box. Okay. So that on day one of us coming in there and getting set up on your systems, that it's nothing you have to worry about. And then we'll help with any auditing, any type of qualifications that come through, or if they get questionnaires. We go through HIPAA compliance checks in our firm, so that we're then able to help our clients handle HIPAA compliance checks.
And I'm sure all the changes, right? Because it's frequently
It is frequently changing. There was just some more changes announced a few days ago that are going to be upcoming around privacy protection and HIPAA laws. So it is a ever-changing battleground as technology continues to advance and threats and bad actors continue to evolve with new technology. Yes. We have to make sure that security stays ahead of that without getting in the way of your business.
Absolutely. Do you have any crazy or interesting stories about those threats or something that you've seen or something that you've come across? Because it's not like the Nigerian prince anymore, right? The very obvious one.
Right. Yeah. It's really evolved. We've gone from, back in the late 90s, early 2000s, when we were talking about threats to your computer. It's the Nigerian prince wanting to wire you gold, but he needs you to send him $100 first. Or, oh, I downloaded something on my computer and now pop-ups keep coming up on my desktop.
Yep.
You know, I don't think kids these days even know what pop-ups are like we do.
Not.
It traumatizes a lot of us. They kind of skated by that. They're lucky. But now it's gone from what I would say is like the hacker in the basement approach, where they're just putting these things together and tossing them out there, to where it is now a multi-billion-dollar a year global industry, to where now these companies that are pushing out these threats and these hacks are sitting in high rises with HR departments. It is completely changed the landscape.
Crazy. Do you have a specific crazy story about one that you've seen or?
Yeah, so we were brought in, this was probably about 4 years ago, to overview a clean out of an entire network. We're talking, I think it was roughly about 87 servers and 1,300 endpoints.
Wow.
Every single one of them was infected with a crypto miner.
Everyone?
Every single one. They pushed it out through the entire network.
Oh.
And every day at 9:30 a.m., it would kick on, and the computer would just spike to 100%. No one would be able to use it. And then it would just be like that for another hour, turn off, and then it would be fine.
Weird.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
Yeah, that was probably the widest spread one that I've personally firsthand had to deal with.
Dare I ask how long it took to undo all of the damage?
I want to say close to 6 months.
Holy cow. Yeah. Wow, that is definitely a lot of damage.
Yes, and it's something that unfortunately could have been easily prevented had the right security been in place to prevent the intrusion into the network, and then to prevent the spread. But because once they got into the network, they were pretty much had free range.
Yeah.
Every single device got hit.
I feel like that protection that you're talking about is a lot, as we were talking about the personal injury aspect about like car insurance. And, you know, there's a minimum that's 25 liability only, and making sure that you're protected for, you know, whatever happens. It's the same thing with the computers, and making sure that you're protected on the front end rather than having to deal with it in our sense on the back end, where you're not able to pay for your care or your family's care or anything like that, or there's a hit and run and you're not able to get the things that you need, protecting your business as well on that front end.
Yeah, and that really kind of goes back into that old saying is like, you know, save a penny, spend $1 later. You can, you know, not put the systems in place that will protect your business and then have to deal with a massive remediation and cleanup later. And that's not even, you know, bridging that if any data is leaked, any fines that would be associated with that. Just the remediation cleanup costs are, you know, going to be 10 times higher than what it would have cost you just to implement it right at the beginning.
In the first place. Yeah. And as you said, you really seem to take a very tailored approach to each person. So it's not like I'm paying for 5 lines and I only need 1, you know, like the old phones, and, right? It's really just, you know, what the business needs.
Yeah, so part of our process is when we are looking at onboarding a new client, there is as much of an interview of them interviewing us to make sure we're the right fit for them as us interviewing them. So what we'll normally do is we'll spend a day or two at their office just kind of chatting with everyone, seeing how they work, seeing kind of what the common problems are, but also seeing the workflow, because last thing we would want to do is go into a business and make life more difficult for them, because there is a trade-off with security to where too much security could potentially be a bad thing.
Okay.
Right? So for example, if you're forced to change your password on your computer every 30 days, you are much more likely to write it down on a Post-it note and leave it on your desk, which I promise you is a much bigger risk than not changing your password every 30 days. You have to find a balance. There has to be where we can be secure, but we're also still productive, because you can have all the security in the world. If your staff can't work because of it, then you're out of business. So.
It's brought up not a funny story, but my degree, and I don't know if you know this, my degree is in human systems engineering.
Oh, I did not know that.
So human systems engineering is kind of that like sort of bridge between psychology and engineering, right? And we've all been in front of a piece of technology where we're like, who created this? Because it's not intuitive. And the idea is that you infuse psychology in the front part, because our brains process a certain way. We process a certain amount of numbers. It's, 7 plus or minus 2, and our eyes take in information a certain way, and our peripheral vision works a certain way, and our arm reaches a certain length, and all of those things, are we taking into account what the human is capable of and what the human limitations are when we're designing this product? Because if you don't make it intuitive, nobody's going to use it. And so that thing that you said with passwords, right? They make you do all of these things over and then change it again and add all these different, and everything is different. And yeah, we're a lot more likely to write it down because our brains don't remember it.
Yep. And I will say, there are definitely occasions where attacks are targeted, but most attacks and most bad actors are working on like a fishing net approach. They're just throwing the net out there, and whoever gets sucked up in it, they don't care if it's a multi-million-dollar a year, Fortune 500 company, or a mom and pop shop that's just trying to get by, doing, just basic business. They don't care. The money's in it the same for them, but most attacks are coming now from a social engineering standpoint versus a kind of a brute force trying to get into your systems. So whether that will be a phishing email that's incredibly cleverly designed.
Yes.
Some of these new emails, they look more real sometimes than the actual emails.
Yeah.
I saw one from DocuSign the other day. It wasn't a DocuSign email, but it looked better than a DocuSign email. The way the formatting was and the imaging, it looked 100% real. It took me a second look at it to see if it actually was a phishing email. It has gotten now, especially with AI and all this real-time chat generation and image generation, to where they can spit these out, hundreds of thousands at a time. And if they get one person to click on it, that's
they're
it.
good.
Yep.
Yeah, and they've been able to change the emails too to make it look like it's coming from like the actual person. Or even we had somebody hack somebody else's email address and send us an email from their email, and I was expecting it. I was expecting email from that person, and it was just this whole thing because they've been able to find these very intricate ways of getting in clever ways.
Very clever ways. Most times when a email system gets hacked, they will be in there for months before they make themselves known. They will not touch anything. They will just observe, and they'll learn how their habits are. So, for example, if you were waiting for an email, they knew you were waiting for that email, so they were able to jump in before the actual user can send it out and send out, if it was a payment request and stuff like that. They will do that and trying to get more and more people in because, if you go in and they show themselves right away, there's no gain for them. But if they can get in, infect their system, and then spread out from there, it's a domino effect.
Can you just imagine if they use their powers for good? Where would we be?
Right?
What amazing things would we have? That's awesome. So what would you say for you is like the most rewarding part of your work? What gets you up in the morning, even though sometimes I know you get phone calls in the middle of the night to fix things?
Yep. Every day there is always some challenge that pops up that we have to step up to, and whether that's something very simple to just helping a user get a program installed or get into their email on their phone, to very complex kind of data recovery work. We look at every job as individually rewarding because we're able to see the benefit provided to the client and their employees. And it's always a good feeling when everyone's like, oh, the computer's working so good, it's so fast, there's nothing we need to worry about. I'm like, all right, that is my number one victory right there.
That's awesome. Oh yeah, it's amazing when things work the way that they're supposed to work and you can really get the job done. And you also tend to not realize how much you rely on something until it breaks.
Yep, especially with technology. Try going a day without internet, or a day without a computer, or a day without your phone.
That feels like.
It is a rude awakening to just how dependent we are on this.
Oh yeah. I've had my work cell phone die, and I'm like, oh no, I can't get a hold of these people, and their contacts are in there, and I don't know their phone number, and it's just all of the things, right?
Yeah. Hey, none of us remember phone numbers anymore. I used to be able to rattle off 10, 15 numbers off the top of my head, years ago, and now I'm just like, I'm lucky if I remember my own number half the time.
Funny story. I didn't know my husband's phone number. I didn't have it memorized until I needed to use it at Fry's for the rewards, and that is the only reason I know his phone number is that reason.
Yep, I still have to check my contact list every now and then for my wife's phone number, but we won't tell her that.
Also fries, you clever dog, you. That's so funny. What's something about yourself that maybe people wouldn't know or would surprise them?
So as much as I love technology, I do try to unplug from it as much as possible in my personal life.
Wow.
To the point where, if I'm not on call, my personal phone will just sit in a drawer and I will just walk around the house without a phone. No computer during the weekend, especially when I'm with my family. Just because there is only so much that you can process, and the information is so constant that definitely found it is sometimes nice to just unplug for a few days and kind of step away from it.
That cognitive load that we've never been prepared for that, and it's never been that much. And I can definitely feel myself, like my focus and my ability to kind of comprehend things or do hard problems or problem solve or remember phone numbers or names has been very limited, just because you're constantly being bombarded with everything. And the old 9 to 5 job where like before 9 a.m. nobody called you and after 5 p.m. nobody called you is not the same kind of environment that we have now.
Yeah, no, with everything being so connected with technology, there is, especially in an office, setting, or especially medical, there is no such thing as a 9 to 5 anymore.
Yeah.
Every job, whether you're actively doing it or not, is a 24-hour a day, 7-day a week job, because I guarantee you're checking your email at least once a week at night, just going through. I'm like, oh, it's 2 a.m. I get any emails? I do it. It's just you're never unplugged from it. It's constantly on your mind.
I also saw something recently on social media talking about how before we would have a job where it was using a tool and the tool would stay at work. So once you were done with your job, you were done with your job.
Yep.
But now our jobs are so much more intellectual, right? We're using our mind for all of those things. So you can't just leave your brain at work and, not use it anymore. It's constantly coming up with, like, when I'm driving home, the 45 minutes that I have to drive home, I'm thinking about my to-do list or my tasks or what I forgot to do. And it's just, happening because my brain's at rest driving the car.
Right.
It never shuts off.
No, and it is constant, and it's something that we all feel.
Yeah.
So that's one of the big reasons why I got into the business the way we handle our clients. Is it's one less thing that you need to think about in your 45-minute drive home.
And we appreciate it. Absolutely. Definitely having you come in and take care of all of those things is such a stress reliever for sure. That's amazing. So if you just had one piece of advice that you wish everybody knew, so practitioners at their offices or companies with their security, just like one piece of advice, you're like, if I could impart this and tell you, what would it be?
Never trust anything at face value.
Okay.
That would be the number one piece of advice. It's not going to be, I don't need you to have 5 different special characters in your password, 30 characters long. It doesn't matter. You can have the best security in the world, or you can have the weakest security in the world. If you're not constantly staying vigilant about what is coming in and what you're clicking on, then it all goes downhill, because you open that floodgate and they're in. So, when you're getting an email and, like you said, it happened to you, you were expecting that email. Double check. Just always, follow up. If you get something that doesn't look right or doesn't feel right, a lot of times people will like, it didn't feel right to me. So they'll forward it to me like, can you check this? I'm like, always trust your gut.
Yeah.
If something even looks a little bit off, chances are it is not what it appears to be.
Absolutely. I have found for Facebook, for example, if I get a comment or a request or something that seems a little weird, I'll call them and ask them if they actually sent it to me, or a link. A lot of times we'll send, I was thinking about you and here's this video and, all those things. If it looks even a little bit remote, like remotely fishy, I will call them up and be like, hey, did you mean to send this to me? And that's definitely happened with my family as well.
Yeah, no, and Facebook is a huge threat vector. Lot happening there, a lot of impersonation. So like it happened to me. I had a friend of mine who I hadn't spoken to in a few years, but going back years and years, we've known each other. And I see on my Facebook one day, friend request, and it had his picture on it, his name, all of his details, and the profile had history going back. It wasn't like a brand new profile. But then I'm like, I also know I have his profile already on my friends list, so I'm like, I called him, like, hey, did you make a new Facebook? Did you send me a friend request? He's like, no. I'm like, oh, okay, well, you have someone out there that's been pretending to be you for like 3 months now. That's got like 400 friends already. Like, you might want to look into that.
Yeah.
Again, yeah, there is zero trust on the internet. That is the biggest stress factor I tell people. Is just like, do not trust anything you see online.
I had my old boss actually friend request me, and I looked at his profile, and he had, I think, 4 friends. Mm-hmm. And I messaged him, and I was like, is this a fake account? He's like, no, it's a real account. You know, it's just reaching out, and I just jumped back on Facebook. And I was like, how did we meet? And so he actually told me how we actually met. So I was like, okay, this is a real thing. How do you only have 4 friends? Because that's normally very fishy.
Right.
Because he had taken a hiatus from Facebook and is just jumping back on and collected friends. So yeah, we're definitely very cynical now with everything.
Yeah, and it's not a great way to look at things to be that cynical, but it's unfortunately the way we have to be.
Yeah.
There is no, looking on the bright side. There is, once this happens once, it is very difficult to pick up the pieces.
Yeah.
Whether it's a personal attack, if someone's breaching your identity or breaching your business,
Yeah.
It is very hard to recover from that. So if you take the extra 10 seconds to validate
To do that.
versus trying to do the cleanup, it is a lot easier.
Yeah. I was telling someone this the other day. I feel that we are in this very weird place that we all are simultaneously the most gullible and the most cynical at the same time. We don't take anything for face value or believe anything, but also we'll see a video and we're like, oh yeah, that's definitely true. Yeah, that person knows what they're talking about, who has no degree and just like picked it up from I don't even know where. Like, we're both of those things at the same time, which is so strange.
Yep. And it's only going to get worse as AI advances, because text
Yes.
models now is almost impossible to tell real versus chatbot sometimes.
Yeah.
It's very difficult. And with image replication now, it is only going to get worse.
And the voice and the people where like the actual video is them with their voice is just crazy.
Yep. I had a phone call the other day. I called one of our vendors, and the old automated voice assistants, you can tell, like, they sounded very
100%.
robotic. The inputs were weird. Like, it wasn't conversational.
Yeah.
I had a 15-minute conversation. I didn't realize I wasn't talking to an actual person.
Really?
It sounded so convincingly real, had an accent, the voice, it was a female voice, had incantations in it. Like, I would respond immediately to what I said. It was a little surprising, because when they're like, oh, we're going to transfer you, I'm like, oh, okay. I get transferred, and like, yeah, I just spoke to the receptionist. It's like, no, it wasn't a receptionist. I'm like, really? What system is that?
I need to know. Wow, that's incredible and terrifying all at the same time.
Yep.
Yeah, technology advancing.
Yeah, and it's only the beginning.
Yeah, well, you're never going to be out of a job.
No.
No. Well, thank you so much for coming on. This has been amazing. We are so excited that you're here. Do you want to tell people where they can find you for more information?
Absolutely, yeah. You can find us online at axionetworks.com, AXIO. We are here locally in Scottsdale. Our office is right off of Scottsdale Road in the Kierland Commons. You can find me on LinkedIn, Alignable, Facebook, anywhere.
All of them.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
Thank
Thank you for joining us.
Yes, thank you for having me.
From all of us at the Lazzara Law Firm and the Chiropractic and Legal Injury Conference, thank you for listening. We hope you never need us, but if you or someone you love does, know they'll have a team dedicated to helping them rebuild, recover, and reconnect with what matters most, their loved ones and the life they deserve. This is the Chiropractic and Legal Injury Podcast, where knowledge is power and collaboration transforms care. If today's episode opened your eyes, share this episode with your network and help spread the word about the realities of personal injury care. Follow us on social media to keep learning and connecting with this incredible community.